Good morning, everyone. Once again, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with these Confederate monuments here in the United States. It's been in the news lately, and got a few words I want to say about it. So I'll go ahead and get this video started. Get my timer going here and get this thing started. I just made a video on the situation in North Korea. One thing I did learn from watching that video just a little bit is that I need to speak up a little bit because my voice is kind of weak on those videos, on that particular video, and some of the other videos I made too. So I need to speak up a little bit so people can hear me just a little bit better. Get my timer started here. I got her going now. Like I say, I like to keep these videos kind of short, 5, 10, 15 minutes. I don't want to bore anybody with any long videos where I'm really not saying anything. It's been proven that the best speeches are short speeches. And if you got anything to say, you can generally say it in a very short period of time. You don't have to take all day to get a couple of points across. So what's going on with the Confederate monuments here in the United States is interesting. It's appalling to me that this is going on. What's happening is you got a few very special interest groups and a few legislators who's trying to make a name for themselves, getting involved in removing these Confederate monuments. I particularly think that there's lots of other things that they could be doing with their time instead of destroying, if you will, American history. I would think that many black people in this country that if you don't like those monuments, I would think that you would want them to stay exactly where they're at. The reason being, it gives you something to complain about. If you get them removed, then down the road, 50 years, 100 years, 150 years from now, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren are not going to have anything to look at and point at and say, look, America, this is what happened. The worst thing you can do, I think, is to remove symbols of history. I mean, it happened. Slavery happened in this country. And it's part of our history. And to remove those monuments showing that we had a North and a South and that we had a Civil War is foolish and idiotic, in my opinion. ISIS over in the Middle East, they destroyed a lot of monuments, a lot of old, historic, very important monuments to the Muslim world and to those countries over there. And that was appalling that they did that. And the world came down on them mightily as a result of that and many of the other atrocities that they committed. The Muslims, when they started their empire, destroyed the Library of Alexandria. And the Library of Alexandria was huge, had a lot of scientific information that has been lost to humanity due to the destruction of that library. And the Muslims, when they destroyed that, they said, well, if the library supports Islam, it's not needed. And if it doesn't support Islam, it's not needed. But, I mean, that is to destroy monuments, to destroy history, to destroy library books, regardless of whether you like them or not, is appalling. the truth and various types of literature. Free speech is very, very important. And when you just start destroying books and destroying monuments, you are destroying part of history, and you are destroying free speech, and you're destroying something that needs to be preserved. I would think that anyone that's involved in the destruction of these Confederate monuments and the removal of these Confederate monuments, they really don't understand the significance and the impact of what they're doing. If you're black and you hate the fact that there was a Civil War and what the South stood for, you should be standing up tall and proud and saying, let's preserve these monuments so that we can show people down the road that this happened, that this existed. You don't want to destroy something that is a symbol of some of the things that you had to put up with. So destroying these monuments is like slapping black people in the face, in my opinion. You're telling them that, hey, we're going to destroy these, and that way we'll be able to say that slavery never happened in the United States. You want these things to be preserved. You want that history to be preserved. You want these monuments to be preserved if you're smart about it. I mean, if you're not very smart about it, take all the monuments down, get all the references of slavery out of the history books and everything like that, and then you cannot in the future be able to point to it and say that this happened. Where is the evidence? If you get rid of all the evidence, you have no case. So it really doesn't make any sense. It's not beneficial to black people, in my opinion, to have these monuments removed. If you're a bigoted white person living in the South and you're racist and you want these monuments preserved, I mean, that's up to you. I mean, if you want that, but the bottom line is, it would really make a lot of sense if you're a really bigoted white person. It would really make a lot of sense to destroy these monuments, because you would be destroying the evidence. So I think the thing here is being done kind of backward. The people that are responsible for removing these monuments and having these monuments destroyed and taking down the Confederate flag, I think they're removing evidence that should be preserved for their case. But anyway, that's just my opinion on the matter. It will be interesting to see how this all plays out in the future with the Confederate flag and the Confederate monuments. I can only say this about history. History is what it is, and if you just start destroying textbooks and flags and removing flags and removing monuments, you're doing a disservice to future generations, because those monuments need to be there, those symbols need to be there, those representations need to be there, so that people in the future can understand the history. Don't be doing things that crosses out and distorts history. We need to keep those monuments in place. We need to let those Confederate flags be flown because it's part of our history. And I don't care how you feel about slavery. I don't care how you feel about the war between the North and South. I mean, that makes no difference. What's really important is that history be preserved, that documents be preserved, that flags be preserved, that free speech be preserved, and that monuments be preserved. That to me is what's really, really, really important. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens regarding these Confederate monuments in the future. I think we got a lot more things to be work on and to be done than running around destroying monuments and passing laws so that people can't fly flags, whatever the flag might be. So anyway, hope you folks have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will be doing some more of these. Thanks, appreciate it.